Yesterday, the New York Times published an explosive report indicating that Donald Trump was attempting to fix federal investigations in his favor. One of the bombshells that was reported in that piece was that Trump's lawyers were working with Paul Manafort's lawyers and discussing potential plea deals and whether or not Donald Trump would be willing to pardon Paul Manafort. Now, in response to some of the allegations in that piece, Donald Trump has come out with a number of whiny, childish tweets, which we'll get to in just a second. And he also denies the accusations in the article. Take a look.
Did you ask Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker to change the leadership of the investigation into your former personal attorney, Michael Cohen?
No, not at all. I don't know who gave you that. Just more fake news. There's a lot of fake news out there. No, I didn't.
So among other things that were reported in that piece was that Trump had asked his acting attorney general at the time, Matthew Whitaker, to have attorney Jeffrey Berman in charge of the investigation in the New York Southern District. And this was the investigation into the hush money payments toward women who Trump had sexual relations with while he's married, and in some cases while his wife is pregnant. And so he denies it, as you can tell, but he also says via Twitter, the New York Times reporting is false. They are a true enemy of the people. And
today, the FBI arrests someone who was planning to murder journalists who he considered the enemy of the people. Gee, I wonder where he got that idea. It's so hard to trace back. But you know what? Let's just call it even. Let's just call it even. You never know. I mean, I can't tell who's inciting the violence. Can you guys tell? I mean, when the president of the United States, with the full force of the United States law and power and weaponry behind him, says that in all caps that the New York Times is the enemy of the people. And by the way, also with his weaponized army of lunatics who follow him. Remember, he did the birther conspiracy. He believes in almost every conspiracy theory, Donald Trump does. And his followers are more likely to believe in conspiracy theories. And so he weaponizes them. I wrote about this. You know, it's interesting. I wrote an editorial about this just a week ago. We sent it to all the major newspapers, none of them picked it up. They're like, oh, right wing weaponizing their lunatics. Well, that would never happen.
No, I mean, if anything, that would make them want to hire right-wing Trump supporters as political editors for their news organizations, because that makes a lot of sense. You know, there's a shortage of trained journalists out there who actually have principles and have a conscience. So why not hire, Trump supporters and political hacks to go ahead and maybe attempt to make Trump like you? The mainstream media is pathetic. Anyway, let me move on to another part of this. He also claims that the reporters for the piece, which included Maggie Haberman, never even reached out to the Trump administration to verify some of these accusations. But Maggie Haberman did talk about this, and she says it's not true. Take a look.
We reached out to them on Friday. I sent several emails that went unanswered until yesterday. We went through a detailed list of what we were planning on reporting. They chose not to engage, and then afterwards, the president acts surprised. Now, whether his aides are not telling him what we are looking at, or whether this is a game and he knows what it is and he's pretending that he doesn't, I can't read his mind. But we certainly followed normal reporting practices and went over it at length with both the White House and Department of Justice.
Just to be crystal clear on that.
If this was news to them, it would be surprising.
Yeah, so look, we're constantly put in this awkward position where we have to talk about how the mainstream media, including the New York Times, does have a certain perspective. Now, they're maddening because they won't admit it. They have an establishment perspective. And part of the establishment is calling everything even. And so, hey, I got Republican readers, I got Democratic readers, besides which the Republicans yell at me all the time, so I'm just gonna call everything even, and that's maddening. On the other hand, do they go and make up stories? Of course not, right? Does their perspective sometimes color their coverage? I think it does. I think that on social issues, it is fair to say that they are more progressive. On economic issues, they are massively conservative, totally and utterly conservative. Okay, but those are legitimate critiques from the right or the left about the coverage and the perspective of the New York Times and other organizations. Calling them the enemy of the people encourages violence against them and in spreading insane conspiracy theories about how they get together and they just make up news. That Maggie Haberman and the publisher Sulzberger and the editors, they all get together in a room. And what should we make up about Donald Trump today? Oh, I don't know. Let's make up that he told his acting attorney general to commit obstruction of justice and put a lawyer into the Southern District of New York to handle his own investigation. They're not gonna do that. You're an unbelievable idiot if you believe they're doing that.
No.
If you said they have groupthink and they generally believe that, for example, minorities should have civil rights, you would probably be right about that. If you said they have groupthink and generally think that raising taxes on the rich is a radical idea, you would be right about that. Anything that has changed, New York Times considers radical. Okay, that's an interesting critique. It is not endangering their lives. And that is what Donald Trump does every single day. Every time he puts out a tweet saying enemy of the people, he increases the percentage chance that somebody at the New York Times is going to get killed.
Can we just quickly discuss the fact that Donald Trump will go after any type of medium that criticizes him or critiques him or pokes fun at him in any way? So let's put the journalistic component of this to the side for a second and just talk about a non-journalistic component, late night comedy show, SNL. Donald Trump wanted to look into SNL, which does comedy and satire, because they make fun of him. So my question to Trump supporters is this: are you not embarrassed? Are you not embarrassed that you idolize a pathetic little crybaby loser like Donald Trump, who gets his panties in a bunch over SNL making fun of him? How embarrassing, it's embarrassing. If I, in some alternate universe, were a right winger who had supported Trump in the election, at this very moment, I would be deeply embarrassed by how much of a child he is and how thin his skin is. So of course he's gonna go after the media when they do their jobs and they report the facts about who he is and what he's trying to do. Besides which, even if the New York Times wasn't reporting this, isn't it already abundantly clear through his own tweets that he's trying to influence these investigations? Come on.
And for those of you on the right and the left who say, well, Donald Trump, involved with Russia? Why would he be involved with Russia? Yeah, innocent people are constantly trying to interfere with their own investigations and pick their own prosecutors. That's what innocent people do all the time. Probably has no connection to Russia at all. Just totally made up. There's no evidence at all. Really? Really? Okay, so anyway, back to Anna's point. These guys, it's everything about conservatives is projection. Like, liberals love to get triggered. Your leader gets triggered at the drop of a hat.
He wants to look into SNL because they make fun of him.
You want to talk about triggered? You want to talk about needing a safe space? You want to talk about a beta? I mean, beta's too strong for Trump. He's an omega.
It is too strong.
And what does he do? Like all cowards, he says, "Well, I don't want to get into the fight, right? I mean, I got bone spurs. Oh, I got bone spurs, and incredibly thin skin, so I can't go into any fight." But you know what? Somebody should do something about the enemy of the people. And he encourages other people to take actions that are going to lead to violence. If you don't know calling someone the enemy of the people, especially when you're the president of the United States, encourages violence, either you're totally lying, you know it encourages violence and you're hoping somebody gets hurt at the New York Times, or you're the dumbest person in America. Everybody knows the president saying that is the enemy of the people encourages violence against those people. Everyone knows that. You would have to be so mentally deficient that the 25th Amendment should be used against you immediately by your own cabinet if you don't know that it incites violence. So here we are, and today another right-wing terrorist targeting journalists and liberals because he thought they were against Trump. Is it connected to his tweets? Goddamn right it is. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.